morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Going On Daily Live Morning Show. If you are watching us, then you can see my name is Ira, and I'm lucky enough today to be working with my partner, Martin Blanco.
Good morning, Ira. I'm lucky enough to be working with you today. How goes?
Thank you very much. And according to the graphic, we're on season 2, episode 47.
Wow.
I can't even imagine right now.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's see. First thing we have to do, of course, is we want people to know where they can comment, where they watch. So if you're on Facebook, you're at Facebook at RI Broadcasting.
Okay.
If you're a Twitch, one of those gamers, you're at Twitch at RI_broadcasting. Can't forget about the TikTokers. They're very important.
Oh, yeah.
We go to TikTok at RI Broadcasting. Now, here's the switch up. If you're on the old-fashioned YouTube, which we all are, it's YouTube at, spell it out with me, Rhode Island Broadcasting. And
this
now you're saying,
I
can comment. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, YouTube is like the old-fashioned kind of antiquarian, almost, 20th century kind of, like nothing, it's too funny.
There's an excellent sketch on Saturday Night Live that they did where the police department had exhausted, all of their resources of how to find somebody. And they brought in two, teen girls. And they just said, well, here's the profile of the guy. He's in his 50s. He does this. And they went, Facebook. And they find him.
That's funny. All right.
Pardon me, my throat's a little raw today. And if you want to support the show, and who wouldn't, because you could buy some great merch there, you got a Patreon at RI Broadcasting, and you get your mugs, and you get your pens, and you get your stickers, and it's a nice little gift, and it helps support the show.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about the show. Let's get on with the show. Today is March 11th, and here's what you need to know, starting with Martin.
Okay. What do we need to know? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you really do need to know this. No joke. This is so measles is in the news more and more these days. I wish it weren't. And I thought I'd talk about this a little bit. And I like to stay, now more than ever, I like to stay a couple steps ahead of, the public health profiles, to see what's out there. I am of such an age where, I'm not that old, but I'm not 45 anymore. The immune system, if not already, soon going to start to, as one ages, not be as robust as it was. That's a natural process of things. I don't want any problems. I don't want any diseases that I don't have to get. And truth is, neither do any of you, regardless of your age. So measles is in the news. And I heard a great talk on another podcast. There's other things besides us here, but I'm a regular listener to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, where they talk about all things science, cover the gamut every week. So last Saturday, Dr. Cara Santamaria gave a good primer on what we really need to know about measles right now. And so I'm going to summarize, her good work. And it makes things, I think, comprehensible. What the stakes are, what's at play here. So measles is highly infectious, let me emphasize it, highly infectious. And let me demonstrate how infectious it is. Epidemiologists and other healthcare people and statisticians use a figure they call R0. And all that means is that's how they define how a disease, how likely it is, how easily it spreads. And they get statistics that can give you a very specific number. Let me give you some examples. The R0 for Ebola is between 1.5 and 2.5. And what that means is for every person who gets Ebola, they are likely to spread it to between 1.5 and 2.5 people.
Okay? Really?
Seasonal flu is 0.9. The R0 numbers be 0.9 to 2.1. So 1 to 2 people. If you get the flu, 1 to 2 people are probably also going to get it. COVID, depending on the variant, okay, that went from 1.5 to 3.5. So I'll round up 2 to
Ooh.
4 people were going to get COVID if you got it, and people you would come in contact with. So you see how these diseases spread. Polio,
Right,
the
right.
R0 number was between 5 and 7. If you got polio, you were likely to spread it between 5 and 7 people.
Wow.
For measles, buckle up, people.
Oh no.
For measles, the R0 number is between 12 and 18. So you see the problem there. Now, here's the good news. Okay, we have a very good vaccine against measles. All right, but in order for the vaccine to be effective publicly, community wide, in order to develop herd immunity, okay, you need to have a vaccination rate of about 95% of the general population.
Wow, that's very
Okay.
high.
And
Okay.
because measles is so spreadable, because the R0 is so high, okay. And so it's everyone should get it, but not everyone can get it. Some people can't get the vaccines for various reasons. And then some people, as we get older, people who are in their 80s and up, there's less efficacy. So in consideration for them, that's where herd immunity comes into play. It can't, with herd immunity, it just can't spread like wildfire. Okay. So it's a good vaccine. It's a safe vaccine. It's an efficacious vaccine. But what happened was we were, as a nation, we were maintaining that herd immunity rate. Let's see, I want to get these right. Prior to the pandemic, okay, the vaccination rate for measles was about 95. They said 95.2%. That's great.
Yeah, it wasn't heard of that somebody got measles
Right.
nowadays.
Okay, today that vaccination rate is not, or post-COVID, 92.7. So we're close to that herd immunity rate, but we're not at it. And even if we're off by a little, it makes a difference. It may take a little more time, but it could spread. So with that in mind, this is one is urged to make sure the children are vaccinated. I was told I had measles when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
I had it, I survived it, and I should have all the antibodies, but I'm due for a physical soon. I'm going to have them check by titers, they're called, to see if I still have antibodies. And if not, if the numbers are low, I'm going to get another vaccine, and they'll give it to you, right then and there. So that's
exactly what I was going to ask you, is for people like us who, you got your shot, a long time ago. Is it still working? I mean, do you have to get checked?
It probably, given how it's spreading, right? If we're at that 95% vaccination rate, maybe not. But now it's a fair question. Check with your doctor. Check with your doctor and see what they say. But the vaccine is available, and side effects are low, almost non-existent. It's safe. It's efficacious. So worth checking it. You want to be ahead of this. You don't want to get measles. You do not want to get measles. So
especially when you get a little older, like you said.
Yeah. So
it could be.
But that's it. So check with your physician. Check out Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. But I'm not making this up. This is well documented. And take care of yourself. Take care of your family, your loved ones, your community. Very simple, painless, inexpensive.
Do you remember? I mean, it was a long time ago, but when someone got the measles, you would want your kid to play with that kid so they would get it and get it out of the way.
I do not remember that with measles, and that's probably because they came up when I was like a baby, I guess. Vaccine.
Oh, okay.
But I do remember that phenomenon, the social phenomenon with chickenpox. It's like, oh, Bill's got chickenpox. Everybody at Bill's house. Everyone's knock it out of the woods right now for everyone. Get it out of the way. So before they had the chickenpox vaccine came much later, but that's what people would do. Yeah.
So Ron is asking, what happens if you do get the measles?
The measles. Here's the thing. They have some. They run its course. There's a lot of misinformation out there about stock up on vitamin A and then these new drugs, and there is no good treatment for measles. Vitamin A supplements may, in some instances with severe cases, reduce the symptoms to a degree, but that's not a panacea. You just wait it out. Then there is no post measles cure. Your body fights it out, but your best bet is up front. The good offense is the good defense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
My niece, who is now down in Texas, that's where all of this has started.
Yeah.
It seemed. I keep asking her. I'm like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "No, we're down in West Texas. We're fine right now." But as you said, that's an alarming spread rate. I didn't realize how how quickly this could get out of hand.
And it can kill people. In 2019, there was an outbreak in Samoa. It killed over 80 kids.
Oh my God.
It's a very complicated story because what happened, there was vaccine hesitancy there because in the mixing of the vaccine formula, someone screwed up and made a batch that was compromised. I forgot with what, but a couple of people
my God.
died because of that. Okay, so then there was vaccine hesitancy. Now, that was an unfortunate thing to happen, and that was human error, and that was terrible. But then the population, enough of the population was hesitant to vaccinate. And when it came there, it spread. 80 plus people died, most of them children, I believe. Terrible, right? And that, so the stakes are high here. Good thing about Texas, big state, right? So if your niece is in West Texas, probably the people to the east of Texas, or one state over to the east might.
Oh, absolutely.
More vulnerable, but wherever there were outbreaks in New York. I think was it. They said at Kennedy Airport, they found 4 people there with measles. Checked. There was something in Maryland, I think at Dulles, not Dulles, someplace in Maryland at one of the airports.
Right.
There was an outbreak there, and so the warnings go out. We want to be ahead of these instances. That's all.
Yeah. Well, Ron's saying we have this issue because of COVID and the anti-vaxxers. Yes. And that's that may be too controversial a topic necessarily for this show. And too long.
And too long. But the best medical literature and decades of experience. Vaccines save lives. They are the number one factor in the increase of human lifespan. And for people old enough to remember what life was like before things like the polio vaccine, all the suffering, all the death that happened. These things work, and we've been blessed. We don't have to think about it because they work. It's not part of our lives every day until COVID came, and I think we need to think scientifically. We need to think intelligently, and reality-based medicine, science-based medicine is the way to go on this. The consequences are too terrible.
We don't want to go back to pretty much 5 years ago on this date.
Right?
When the world shut down. But thank God we don't have to talk about that now. We can talk about other things.
Yes.
And I've got a couple of polar opposite 911 calls here.
Okay. Oh, boy.
So let's see. The first one, we're going to go to North Carolina. And a man called 911 on Monday. He had been locked in his storage unit all weekend. Now you're thinking, why is he calling on Monday if he's locked in on Friday or Saturday? Well, his girlfriend turned out, shoved him in, the lights were out, he had put his phone down, and now he couldn't find it because the storage unit, as he put it, looked like a hoarder's paradise.
Okay.
His girlfriend, Robin Danae Deaton, always 3 names, that's a problem. 52 years old, shoved him in, closed the door, and just said, "This is what you get." No explanation. This is what you get. And after they arrested her, they found out she had been charged earlier on other counts of attempted murder and kidnapping. So I'm thinking this is what you get for dating someone with 3 names.
Yeah, that's That's true. I'll say this. That's a bad girlfriend.
That's, oh my, I can't.
Jesus.
But just the weird thing was, it took you really 3 days to find your phone. I understand, but you had nothing else to do in this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you could be locked in. I know I would probably go insane doing that.
Ira, we have 2 safety tips for the day. Make sure you're up to date on your measles vaccine, and always keep your cell phone charged and on your person. These are
the more you know.
Man.
I like that. From now on, I think I'm just going to carry a mini flashlight with me, and people are going to say, "Well, there's one on your phone." I couldn't find my phone.
Backup redundancies, backup systems. Yeah.
Oh my God. But I couldn't believe that until I read that his girlfriend actually did that to him.
Jeez,
the next one is a little concerning for me, and it's a cute little story. But I want to see how you feel about the ending of the story.
Okay. I'm still struggling with the last story with the girl. All right.
Well, according to Ron, it sounds like one of his exes. So, maybe he's out there. I wonder if that could be like a serial thing. She dates people. She shoves them in lockers, and that's it. The next one takes place in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And now, we all have, I'm sure, older cell phones. I mean, we're of the generation now where do you remember there were the tiny little flip phones and things like that?
Yes.
Just because there's no service on those phones doesn't mean that you can't use it to call 911. All phones have an emergency feature on them.
Okay.
So remember that when you give it to your toddler to play with, and you think, well, he can't do anything with it.
Right.
Well, there was a 2-year-old, and he contacted 911 by accident, of course.
Okay.
The dispatcher said, 911 emergency. What is your emergency? And the child said, donuts. I need emergency donuts. Now, I know 911 call and the operators do get a bad rap because people say, are you sending somebody? Are you doing this?
Right.
Well, the operator is still asking questions because they are taught to keep you on the line and get as much information as possible. So even in this situation, the operator is very sweet. She's like, so is this an emergency? And the boy again replied, yes, it's an emergency. I need emergency donuts.
That kind of day.
It is. Sometimes a donut is what you need.
Yeah.
She asked him if he would share if they brought him donuts, and he replied, no way. So he wants all the donuts for himself. The next day, the police department actually showed up at the boy's house with a box of donuts, and the child was thrilled, and everything was happy. Here's my issue.
Yeah.
Is that really what we're doing with 911? Is that the officers had time out of their day to go, we're going to get some donuts and bring it to this kid?
Meanwhile, this other guy is locked in the storage, right? He's there.
Yes.
The kids get
If you found out that you were locked in there because, well, in the morning we have to get some donuts and bring it to.
This sounds, I hate to say it, this sounds like the donut story, a very New England-y kind of story. This sounds like this could have happened in Massachusetts or Rhode Island, and then is it Krispy Kreme or is it Dunkin'? I don't think it's an emergency. I mean,
and they don't wait. And what if they brought the donuts and they brought the wrong kind? He's like, ew, jelly. I don't like that.
No. It's a nice story. If it seems like it was a slow day, one would hope, and it was a very human thing to do. So I'm happy to lean into that. Now, if you find out while the 911 operator was on there, and there was a fire and someone jumping off the Q bridge or something, and that got neglected, but it doesn't sound like that's what was happening. So I'm gonna lean into it and say thumbs up. It's a nice human interest story, very much worthy of the Reader's Digest, if anyone remembers what that was. But
a cute little feel-good story,
yeah.
right?
I wonder, did the kid really call by accident, or did the parents say, "Hey, let's see what happens"? But regardless, no one was hurt. As you said, feel-good human interest story. And hopefully he grows up to be a good person and not locking people into their storage units.
But what if he does this again? Hey, it's me again. I want fried chicken.
Yeah.
You know?
You just gave me a great sketch idea. You just gave me a great sketch idea to write. Yes, we're just playing this out, with emergency donuts, emergency fried chicken, emergency condoms, whatever. Is this a
My
real?
parents
Yes.
told me to clean my room. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's an emergency. That's neat. Where did that take place? Did they say where it took place?
In Oklahoma.
No, Oklahoma. You did say that. All right, Oklahoma. The donut story is Oklahoma. All right.
Yeah,
well,
it's not going to tell anything about that.
No. Oklahoma. Good.
And why is it no one asked to speak to the parents?
Yeah.
I mean, were they at least smart enough to go, maybe we take this phone away and give him the Fisher Price version where, Elmo's not going to be bringing him donuts. And
Lesson learned. I called 911 by accident once. I was dialing a Westchester number, which you may, given you that you live in New York, it's 914. And, clumsy thumbs. So I'm like, and next thing I know, like, 911, what is your emergency? I'm like, oh. And it was like, oh, no, this was a mistake. And I felt really bad, but I seemed to get out of it quick enough.
And did they say anything? Like, are you sure, sir?
Yeah, there was that little follow-up, and I was like, no, and I tried to, as convincingly as I could say, there was a slip of my clumsy finger. I'm calling someone in this area code. I'm perfectly fine. Whatever. I'm so sorry. I was slightly embarrassed, but more concerned that I was causing problems.
My only 911 issue, and I never had it, but my wife is Filipino, and we went back to the Philippines at one point, and while driving along, there are signs for Pizza Hut, and the number to dial is the first three numbers is 911. So
geez.
Used to make fun of the emergency pizza. Come on, we got to get that.
Gotta love the cultural differences. Yeah.
Oh.
They're just numbers, but they mean everything. Yeah.
Yeah. When you really want to go to like China or Japan and you can translate what they have. And it's just the weirdest stuff. We should do actually a bit on that. But right now, today is March 11th, but I hear you have some stories about my favorite day of the year, March 10th.
Yes. I am forever living in the past. I can't get past the 10th. We were supposed to have a show yesterday, March 10th, that I was on, and there was a glitch in the system, not on our end, but on the network, and we didn't get to do it. And I guess there's a part of me that was just lazy and didn't want to do anything else. But the real motivation was I really liked. I had some really interesting things, historic things. That's what I'm looking for. Milestones, if you will, on March 10th. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it on the 11th. We're only one day late. We can look back for a day. But of course, the biggest and most important one was your birthday, March 10th.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Ira. It's the new year, and you look well.
Thank you.
So far, one day in, it's a good ride. Things are looking good. All right. So some of the things I picked out, there's just a couple. Some were incredibly sad. Some were delightfully interesting, if not silly. And one was just a cultural favorite of mine. I'm going to get the sad one out of the way, but it's an important one and worth noting. On March 10th, 1933, that is the date that the first concentration camp opened in Germany. That was in Dachau. And eventually, 32,000 people would die there from disease, malnutrition, execution. But that, was just a regular day, March 10th. It's one of those days the universe changed. And it's
Please cheer me up now.
No, I know. It's a terrible hallmark, but one worth remembering. Okay. Yep. On a much lighter side, though, okay, as we got past that, in Toledo, Ohio, okay, on March 10th, and Dummy here didn't even write the year. Okay, that was all right, but I'm going to find that out. On March 10th, the early part of the century, the
Okay.
first bowler to score a perfect 300 in the American Bowling Congress. Okay, that happened on March 10th in 19 whatever. Okay, I don't know what the year is, but what's important was it was March 10th. Okay, and that was a nice thing that happened.
So see, it's good. It's a perfect 10, a
Yes.
perfect game. There you
Yes,
go.
and a silly milestone, but someone had to do that. I mean, I guess they did that before, but this is the first time in official tournament play that happened. Okay, on March 10th, 1997, I've got the year here. It was the premiere of a beloved TV show for so many people, a certain generation. It was the premiere of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh
That
my
happened on
God.
March 10th. So happy birthday, Ira, right? When that's a nice birthday gift in
It is.
1997 for you. So, all right, the last one I'm going to do, and this is I've elaborated. Oh no, this is important. On March 10th, 1913, Harriet Tubman died. A remarkable woman who helped so many people escape slavery. She lived to about 93 years, and but she passed and left us on March 10th, 1913. Okay, the last one is a birthday of someone that not a lot of people probably know about, but I think he's a fascinating man worth talking about. His name is Lorenzo da Ponte, and his birthday is March 10th, 1749. If I had to pick one thing that he should be remembered for, and there are a lot of things he should be remembered for, the one thing, he was the librettist for three of Mozart's operas, and they were Così fan tutti, La Nozze di Figaro, and Don Giovanni. Some argue would be the best opera ever written. He was the librettist for those three. But I'll tell you, I don't think anyone's had a more interesting life than Lorenzo da Ponte. He started in Italy, and his family was Jewish, and he was born Jewish. His father, I believe his mom passed away, and his father remarried a very young Catholic woman. So the whole family was converted to Catholicism, and he eventually went into the priesthood. And he was a priest. And Lorenzo da Ponte made for a very poor priest for many reasons, including he had an eye for the ladies, which is generally frowned upon in the Catholic priesthood.
Yep.
So eventually he there were a lot of scandals with ladies, and, had to leave Italy, had to leave the priesthood. And he made his way to Austria in the court of Emperor Joseph II. And he was a poet in the court, and eventually he was paired up with Mozart. That's how he wrote the librettos of these beloved operas. Eventually, after Joseph died, he had to flee Austria for other scandals, and he went to England and France, where he had to leave for other scandals. He became friends with Casanova, and let's just say that was not a good influence for him. He eventually came.
But it sounded like it aligned with his views.
Yes, yes, absolutely. He came to the United States, and he failed at a number of businesses, including he was a greengrocer in Pennsylvania. I think he owned a bookstore, but he settled down and really lucked into something marvelous. All along, he had been teaching privately students how to speak Italian. And eventually, he was brought into Columbia College, which is now Columbia University, and he started the first Italian language program at a university in the United States. And it was wildly successful. He also kept involved with classical music, which was a big part of his life. Say when he wasn't chasing the ladies, I think he was involved he was a man of letters. He was involved in music and literature, and obviously had the connection to Mozart. I believe he was involved in bringing Don Giovanni to the United States. But more importantly, in 1826, he gave a robust introduction of European Italian-style opera to New York, and by extension, the United States, by producing an oratorio. And it was a big success. He had singers and musicians from Europe come over, and it was performed at the old St. Patrick's Cathedral,
Oh,
which still
wow.
exists today.
I love that place.
Yeah, it is. Okay. In downtown, in the Little Italy. It's on the northern part of Little Italy, New York. And that parish is of great historic interest, not least of all, it was the home parish of the great film director Martin Scorsese.
Oh,
So Loren and De Ponte, there was an important cultural event happening in the United States. And Martin Scorsese produced a documentary a couple of years back about the church, St. Patrick's, the neighborhood, and this oratorio that De Ponte produced in 1826. But then they recreated it just a couple of years ago, I think in 2021, in that church with the organ, and it was a
wow.
wonderful
I
event.
like that.
So, happy birthday, Ira! Happy birthday to the one and only Lorenzo De Ponte.
And if you
Priest.
want to get a little more pop culture-y, also, unfortunately, there's one really bad birthday on March 10th.
Oh, yes.
Not mine.
Okay.
I think you might know the name Osama bin Laden.
Oh my God. Was that his birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, lots of other people have birthdays with bin Laden, Hitler, Stalin. You know.
And there are two good birthdays. I share a birthday with Carrie Underwood,
Okay.
the country singer,
Okay.
and the toughest man ever in the world, Chuck Norris.
Okay. All good people. I'll throw one more in. The actor John Hamm, born on March 10th.
John Hamm, I did forget that.
So you're, by and large, you're pretty much in good company.
I am. I think we have enough good to balance out the
balance out bin Laden. Yeah. Yeah.
Hugo, thank you very much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate them. Now, back in the day, what was your favorite board game, Hugo? And Ron, I know you're a huge board game guy. Feel free to answer. Hugo, what is your favorite board game when you were a kid?
Oh my God, I loved board games, and I guess the favorite one because it stands the test of time. I played it as a kid. I play it as an adult. Monopoly, which I believe has, Parker Brothers, didn't they used to have their headquarters in Rhode Island? But Monopoly is the game of choice.
I could not agree with you more.
Okay.
Monopoly teaches you things.
Yes.
Let's see. According to Ron, he likes Ticket to Ride. I have played that.
Ticket to Ride's a lot of fun. Hands down. Yeah, good game.
But as for Monopoly, I could not agree with you more. Whether it's a game that ends with somebody throwing the board up in the air, people conspiring to bankrupt other people.
Yes.
There's cheating, there's working together. But I think the most important thing that you do with Monopoly, other than shared time, is you're counting money. And like you said, from a kid to an adult, you handle the money and you learn how to do transactions. You learn how to deal with things. According to Hugo, he used to make his own, but his favorite was Monopoly and Trouble. Oh, I remember Trouble. Pop-O-Matic thing.
I do too. And my brother would always get upset when we played. So when we took it out, my mother said no game was more aptly named than Trouble.
I don't know. I think you could name what's the one with the spinner? And you put your hands on the dots.
Oh, Twister.
Twister, thank you. Couldn't remember that.
Yes.
But anyway, there is a new version of Monopoly. Parker Brothers, actually Hasbro, is releasing an updated version. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is no cash.
Oh.
It's a cashless society.
So what do you get? What do you get? Like little electronic devices, and you do it through something like a Venmo or something like that? Is that
sort of? There's an app.
There's an app.
There's an app for the game, and it's going to replace the banker, and it does all the transactions for you.
No, I don't like it. And I don't want to be an old man saying, "No, back in my day, whatever." But there is. And I understand the marketing wisdom behind this too. I understand that. But you cannot replace the pleasure of the tactile sensation of the money, those wildly different colors, pieces, involving, you moving stuff, counting stuff, manipulating, studying the cards, not on an
Yep.
app, on a two-dimensional screen, but actually have that, I think you lose a lot of the fun. But we're losing. I used to play games with my kids at the earliest that they could figure it out.
Of
We'd
course,
start
yeah.
school. But it's a great teaching mechanism too. It teaches social skills, teaches small finger manipulation, how to handle things. And
Hmm.
if we're not building these pathways, I don't think that's a good thing for society at all. So I want the money I want the cash in my hands. I want the property deeds. You lose so much if you
I
give
agree.
that away.
And you have to figure things out. Remember, I mean,
Yes,
if you
yeah,
were losing, okay, I have to mortgage that. How much am I going to get if I
yes,
take this out? Can I
yes,
afford to build?
yes,
It's strategies.
yes. And if you have the app doing it for you, I mean, what are you even doing then? Then the app's playing the game, really.
I
But
agree.
you're
Well,
not building those brain paths. And what happens is when you play this game a lot, your brain, having built the paths, has the shortcuts. You without realizing, you've taught yourself which properties pay more, which are ones to avoid. How quickly can I mortgage something? I don't have to, go a half hour. My brain knows that, yeah, I can mortgage this and buy two more houses or whatever. Have the
exactly.
app doing that for you. You lose a lot.
Well, let's see how you feel about the no app for lazy bastards,
You
according to
go.
Ron. Well,
Yeah.
let's see how you feel about this because we keep talking about properties.
Yeah.
They're changing the board.
Oh.
Yeah, they want to make it more kid friendly, and which, by the way, they have a million different versions,
Oh,
so it's
sure.
already
Sure. Yeah.
kid friendly. But no more Park Place, no more Boardwalk,
Okay.
no more of the places.
Mm-hmm.
They are replaced with things like a rocket launch pad, the moon,
The
a
blue.
chocolate factory,
Uh,
a VR roller coaster, a dinosaur park. How do you group them together? Remember, it was you had to get the group. You had to
yes.
get the Monopoly.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. This seems ill-conceived. It really does. To your point, there are different stylized versions of the games from Disney
Absolutely.
Monopoly, Boston Red Sox Monopoly, Godfather Monopoly. What I mean, on and on and on and on and on and on. Okay,
Absolutely.
so
Yes.
you can, for those who play the game, who play classic Monopoly, they, if they want to have some fun, they can go and play in these different universes. I get that, but there was something nice about that Atlantic City board. That these were real places, and I have some family in Atlantic City. We went for the first time. I guess I was like 9 years old, and I'm driving around. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Market Gardens, that's Ventnor Place,
Yep.
that's St. Charles Street, and of course we went to the boardwalk. We were on the board, and that was delightful too. If they're going to change it, and I understand Atlantic City is not the place that it was back in the day.
True.
I would rather just be a launch pad here or a chocolate factory there. Well, where else? Okay, where else can you go? And they sort of done that with these different editions. Maybe there's a Nashville edition. Let's say Grand Ole Opry would be a big place.
Right.
Vanderbilt University would be a big But do that. Make it
Ron,
cohesive.
I think Ron has it right.
Yeah,
Which is
Vegas,
Vegas.
sure. Yeah.
By the way, shout out to Becky, who's in Vegas.
Okay. Oh, good for her. Good for her. Hopefully, having a grand time and winning money. But make it cohesive. I think you give up a lot too when you change that. There's no context then anymore. So
I agree.
yeah.
It's all about. I mean, we put a tablet in front of kids as young as when they're babies, and we're really not teaching them to think. We're just teaching them to look,
Yes.
and that's it.
And not engage. Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
very
going back to the game, you'll still select the token like you always do,
Mhm.
and then you swipe your bank card, scan it into the app, and then it will automate all the transactions, purchasing anything you want, and it pays rent for you automatically.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's going to speed. It says here's the one good thing.
Yeah.
And if anybody who has played for hours knows, it can speed up the game and it makes it harder to cheat.
Okay. But when I play, it's interesting you talk about the time of the game. When I played, at some point, one day I sat down and read the rules after I've been
Oh
playing
God.
for a couple of years, and I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, oh my God, we haven't been doing any of this stuff.
Yep.
So then I started playing by the rules. And when my kids learned, they learned by the rules, which by the way, created some problems for them when they go off and play with, their peers. Like, so they try and explain it to them. But when you play by the rules, when you don't artificially infuse cash from free parking, and when you auction off the properties, if you're not going to buy one, instead you let it go to auction,
Yep.
that speeds up the game. The game will be about 90 minutes, hands it, because again, these external things of the property still being available and all this cash coming in, sort of like when people get mad at the government, you gave what kind of stimulus pack, it's wrecking the economy, it's like, well, you could see that happen in Monopoly, it's like, oh my God, someone who was about to lose just for
Oh.
no reason gets $3,000 of our tax money, right, that we've been putting in there. It's a bad idea. So I'd say play by the rules, and it'll be the time of the game would be very good. And by the way, the auctioning element of it for the person who's the banker, that's an interesting dynamic too, to learn how to auction off property and
I agree.
control that. And that was good for the kids to learn that too. So,
But I like what you said. It's true. When you go to somebody else's house, you
oh
play
yeah,
with
yeah,
somebody else. Eric, this is how we play here. Okay.
yeah, right.
Okay.
But try and tell them, what do you mean no free? But the big one, you auction off the properties? Yes, yes.
Yes.
No, we never did that. We're like, well, you didn't
Get to
follow the rules. So,
Let's see. It says parents and teachers often use Monopoly as a way to teach kids about math and money.
yeah,
And now these kids are never going to learn the practice
no.
of doing that, which is why when you go to any kind of establishment where there's usually a teenager, and I'm not picking on all teenagers, but you sit there and you go, oh, it's $10, it's $9.75, and you give them 10 whatever, they can't do the math.
No, they can't. No, because they never had to. It's I'm sure they all have or once had the capacity to do that, but they never had to. And
Yeah.
it was Neil deGrasse Tyson, in defending the study of physics and advanced mathematics, who said, other people I'm sure have said it too, but I heard him recently say it. If I'm never going to use this math in my life, why do I need to learn this? Why do we need to learn trigonometry? And most people won't need it. Some people will. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to learn it, because in the learning of it, same thing, by the way, why should I study Shakespeare? I don't like Shakespeare. It doesn't matter, man. You study these things. Okay. Yes, they may have utility in your professional life, but even if they don't, in order to study them, your brain has to build pathways to learn them. Even if you're not an A math student, I was a solid B- math student, and I tried, and I love math, but that's fine. It built pathways that my brain uses for other
Exactly.
things. And you need to do that when you're young. I'm not saying you can't do it when you're older, but when you're young, this is when the brain is on fire. This is when it's growing, it's developing. And board gaming is another and a fun way to do just that. And games like Monopoly, that had many different levels to it, have some certain complexity, chess too, whatever. These are helping build the brainwave so you can have fun, but you're really setting yourself up for a rich and successful life by doing that. So,
I agree.
yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And we it's funny, when I'm on with you, we always bring up Neil deGrasse Tyson somehow.
Oh, do we? Oh, do we? Oh, I should make sure not to do it next time, so as not to be a bore. But yeah, he's
Well,
great. He's great.
he is, and he's not a comic genius, but I think you have a story about a comic genius
I
that
do.
we don't know about.
Yeah, well, I think people do, but they don't know that they know about this great comedian, and I wouldn't be surprised if you know about him. But
Okay.
do you know anything about Don Novella? If I just mentioned
Yes. Guido Sarducci.
there we go. He is, an actor, writer, and he is the man who created and performs that wonderful character, Father Guido Sarducci. And I'm telling you, sometimes I go down the Guido Sarducci rabbit hole, I'll go to YouTube. I'm like, how much can I find? Let me just watch him for an hour. And I watch, 15, 20 years of clips of him. And, when I first would see him live, Saturday Night Live and other appearances he made, it's like, yay, Father Guido Sarducci is on there. But
it's funny, they didn't put him on. I didn't see anything about Father Guido Sarducci on the Saturday Night Live 50th.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's
a shame. He was a wonderful little spice seasoning when he would pop on Weekend Update. So, great character. If you don't know who Father Guido Sarducci is, we live in the world where there's a YouTube, even though that's the old person's thing. Go to YouTube, look him up, and enjoy. You're welcome. Don Novella has done a couple of other really, really interesting things too. He's got his hands in a lot of stuff, and he's one of those people who, over the course of my life, since I was a kid, 5th grade, 6th grade, he's been making me laugh since then. I'm 61 years old now, and I've got a lot of laughs at Don Novella. His birthday, not March 10th. His birthday is January 1st, 1943.
Hey, that's cool birthday.
Yeah. His parents were in the health field. His father was a physician. His mother was a nurse. So that's where he came from. One of the other, he's been in a bunch of movies. Most notably, fans of The Godfather, Godfather Part 3, Don Novella plays the public relations director for the Corleone family, and he's in 2 or 3 scenes. The big scene, the big family scenes at the beginning and at the end. And I was like, Don Novella's in this, yay! It's a nice little touch. Of course, I was a little bitter I wasn't in it, but that's neither here nor there. But Don Novella, Disney fans, if you love the movie Atlantis, he voices the character of the Italian. I guess he's the mechanic on that vessel that they're on, and he cracks me up in that film. He's making me laugh throughout.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it is what it is. But it's Michael J. Fox and Don Novella. Yeah, it's worth a look. Okay, but before he came up with the character of Guido Sarducci, Don Novella, and it took me years to make this connection. By the way, Don Novella had this alter ego named Laszlo Toth, and he published a couple of books called the Laszlo Letters. And what they were actual correspondence between his character, Laszlo Toth, with world leaders, CEOs, and luminaries. And Laszlo Toth was sort of a benign idiot and very much leaning to the right. So he started this in the, I guess, 70s. So very much, the sentiments of coming from someone who was against the Vietnam War, had questions about the Nixon administration, and a lot of questions about big business, as it were. So he would write these letters from this simpleton, voicing his support of them and how much he admired them, and in so doing, listing as if they were virtues all the negative things that these people were in trouble with in the public eye for, or just writing to CEOs asking about their products. And what would happen is he would get letters back. And
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
they
would write back, and he would write. So let me, if we have time, I'd like to just read
a
couple of them because they're just hysterical. So he writes beautifully. It's a wonderful lesson how to craft a business letter and how to put where to put the margins, how to put the date, how to put a letterhead on it. So in the upper right-hand corner, he has the corporate address, and he's writing out to Mr. Bubble of the Gold Seal Company, Bismarck, North Dakota. And he writes, "Dear types, dear gentlemen, I want you to know, first of all, that I enjoy your product. It's always refreshing to spend some time in the tub with some bubbles. However, I must confess I am puzzled by some of the instructions on the box. It says, in quotes, keep dry. How can you use it if you keep it dry? Thought you'd be interested to know that someone like me caught the mistake. I thought you'd like to know. Sincerely, Laszlo Toth." They write back on the letterhead of the Gold Seal Company. "Dear friend, thank you for your recent letter regarding Mr. Bubble, which has been referred to this Consumer Relations Department for reply. We are pleased to know that you enjoy using Mr. Bubble and that you find it refreshing to spend some time in the tub in a bubble bath. It is true We do say on our box, free-flowing Mr. Bubble must be kept dry. But this statement, by this statement, we mean that the box of powder should be protected against dampness, such as moisture in the bathroom if the box is not put away. The box of Mr. Bubble should be closed and placed in a cabinet until the next use. Some people tell us they transfer Mr. Bubble powder to a plastic container or even a large coffee can to keep dampness out of the powder. Some have mentioned that they keep a measuring scoop in the can for convenient measuring of the proper amount of its powder to use in each bath. Overuse is also wasteful. So, they go on and on. They talk about their other products. And they're just so silly. But he writes to Richard Nixon. He
Oh
writes to
God.
here's one to H.R. Haldeman, and then I'll just read the second one.
Okay.
Dear Mr. Haldeman, I have always been a fan of yours. H.R. Haldeman does not have fans. Even the people who, all right? I've always been a fan of yours. I've always stuck up for you. However, after seeing you on television last night, I was terribly disappointed. I believe you are completely innocent, but you are hurting your own image with that long hair. Just because you lost your job doesn't mean you shouldn't keep up your appearance. Maybe if you get a good American flat top like you
Oh
used to
God.
have, our president will find some other job for you. I don't mean any disrespect. I just like you better before. Didn't you ever hear the saying, don't change boats in the middle of the river? The same goes for hair, and yours was so nice. It reminded me of Tab Hunter. Best of luck. Stand by our flag. Still a supporter, Laszlo Toth. He writes back, Dear
Oh,
Mr.
good.
Toth, yeah, thank you for your letter of several months ago. I am sorry to be so long in replying, but it took a while for the letter to reach me from the White House. I am sorry you don't like the TV appearance of my longer hair, but I can assure you that it isn't a matter of my failing to keep up my appearance because of having lost my job. In any event, I deeply appreciate your support and good wishes, and I can assure you I will stand by our flag as you urge, Bob Haldeman. Oh, my God. So he's got 2, maybe 3 volumes of the Laszlo letters. Oh, they're just wonderful.
Wow.
What satire? Kind of. It's a great character, and Don Novella, very creative man, very creative man.
I'm just would that sort of format still work today? First of all, it would have to be an email
Right.
because
Sure. Right. Who sends letters? Yeah. They would
nobody
be
gets a
special.
letter.
I know. Be
But I
very,
wonder
very.
if you would get a response as, you know, I'm writing to a child or someone with
Yes.
childlike,
Yeah.
vision.
Yes. It's interesting. He goes back and forth with McDonald's company. He complained about, there were less fries than he thought. And he just wanted to bring that to his attention. And they sent him coupons. He goes, what are you doing to me? Don't patronize me. I wasn't looking for coupons. There was a problem. Have you addressed the problem? This goes back 3 or 4 rounds. But, it's interesting. The companies, the politicians, the mucky mucks, they treated it very seriously. They're very, very, very
They have
concerned.
to.
And they couldn't see, where, we're in on the joke. So it's easy for us to see. They could not see it. And they bought into it and responded. And in so doing, revealed their vulnerabilities. Even though you're a senator, aide to the president himself, you're subject to human foibles, not being able to see what's so obvious that a very funny man is playing you. It's an interesting experiment. This correspondence with Laszlo Toth, but Don Novella. If ever you see his name appended to something, it's worth a look. He's very funny.
I agree with that. Have you ever written a letter to any corporation?
And I have no big story with that. I must have, because I remember doing this as like assignments in school.
Oh,
So
wow.
I kind of do. But I have written to a lot of people because I asked them for. I remember when I was job hunting. I mean, I was looking to desperate. I wanted to be on the writing staff of the David Letterman show, and I was in grad school. And I wrote a letter with a top 10 list. And I thought I had some game going because I was at the time I was in graduate school at Yale. I thought they're going to give me. They're going to at least look it over and see. But it went nowhere. But I got a very nice response by Robert Morton, the producer.
Oh, the
which I
producer, right.
still have in my files, thanking me and whatever. And there's different paths to going into that kind of writing, and that was not one of them. But I also, have made inquiries to get people either to perform in shows I was producing or whatnot. And, generally, people are good. They respond, and so I have some interesting correspondence. I have one from Tom. Oh, I won't say why, but I have a correspondence with the great playwright Tom Stoppard, and
Oh,
I treasure it. And I left it out on my desk one day, and my wife was doing some work at home, and she grabbed it and just writing. She was a radiologist, and she just had to scribble some
oh
notes
no.
for a film she was reading on it. I'm like, what happened to my Tom Stoppard letter? And attorneys were called. Divorce. No. It didn't get to that, but
It
I still
happens, you know.
I still save it. I'm like, my Tom Stoppard letter with your notes from work on it.
God, you get mad every time you see it again. It's
Yeah.
just
Yes. Yeah. I have a fax from the former Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy. I suspect, while it bears his name, it was probably not written by him, probably by a clerk, but I do have that fax. There was some business for where I was working, but these are nice treasures. But
oh, that's nice.
yeah,
I have a question for
sure.
you. Do you collect anything, or your wife? Do you know of anybody who has a collection?
Yes, less and less as we get older and we're said, but yes, we do have some collections.
What do you have a collection of?
I do have some coins, old coins, silver. I have first edition books
Ooh,
with
nice.
signatures of the authors. I have it's put away, a collection of keychains, which I started as a kid accidentally. I had no particular interest, but I was given a couple of very odd keychains, and I thought they were worth saving. Next thing I know, I'm a collector. But those are three. Those are three of my collections.
Because I have a study here that was conducted by College Hunks Hauling Junk.
Oh, okay. I see.
And they sent out a survey, and according to this, what was it? At least 27% of people have some sort of collection
Yes.
that they hold on to.
Yes.
Now, my little thing started out as shot glasses.
Oh, okay, sure.
But here's the interesting one about mine, at least, that nobody else understands. Maybe you do, hopefully, is that when I see a shot glass, I buy. According to Ron, he collects games and trading cards.
Oh, neat. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I would pick out the shot glass I like that will remind me of the trip I took.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I've been, I'm 20 different states, a couple of different countries. So you get a nice little collection and people notice it. And then they think, oh, you're the shot glass guy. Wherever I go somewhere,
yes,
I'm going to get you a shot glass.
And they add to it. Oh, yes. Yeah.
And the problem is I'm moving. I'll be moving in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going through everything. And I'm going over these shot glasses. And sure enough, I see the one from Texas. And it reminds me of when I went to the rodeo. And I see when I went to Nashville and the Grand Old and all these. And then I see ones of, I've never been to Bermuda.
Right.
Why do I have this shot glass? So you have to stop, people.
Yes. Yes.
Just because I collect something for me doesn't mean you have to continue.
Sure.
But here are some of the weirdest ones that people wrote in about. One person has, and I can understand this, over 300 coasters from breweries that he has visited over the years.
Okay.
Again, that's a personal thing.
Yes. It's a touchstone to that experience, right?
It is.
Yeah.
This one I don't understand, and it sounds dangerous to me. Someone has 200 oil-burning lamps. Doesn't that sound like a fire waiting to happen?
It is. I mean, the way to do that is not to load them up with oil, but but if you want to roll those dice, good luck. All right.
There are people who have collections for other people. There are a lot of people who have Elvis Presley memorabilia collections.
Sure.
There was somebody who had one to Princess Diana. There are collections for gnomes, clowns, vintage handkerchiefs. This one's good. Porcelain pigs. How do you get into that? How do you become the porcelain pig person?
Yeah.
There are people who have taxidermy displays. That always creeps me out. Let's see.
They look so alive. They look so alive.
I'd rather have the live animals. Too many live animals
Yeah.
and too many dead ones around.
Yeah.
They have, let's see, this guy has tigers, cobras, piranhas, pufferfish, parrots, and penguins in his collection.
Oh, God.
Now, here's the fun part, because like you said, you have your own. Ron wants a shrunken head collection.
Sure.
Good luck with that.
Who doesn't?
Here's the fun part about it. For all these collections, 34% of the people who have collections admit they are not functional and I don't need them at all. And if I threw them out, my life would be just the same.
Those people should get rid of them as soon as possible, unburden themselves. If it has no meaning for them. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I have a friend who collects those Funko Pops?
No.
Funko Pop. They take celebrities and TV and movie actors and they make them dolls about 3-inch high.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that term. All right. Yeah.
Oh, and he has so many now that in his kitchen through the dining room, he had to put up custom shelving. And he fills every shelf. There's like 6 rows of shelves. And I look at him and I go, when do you think you have enough? And he goes, oh, well, I'm never going to have enough.
Never.
So when does it become dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you.
When it's interesting. I think when you have no control over it. In other words, if your decisions that you're making are predicated on nurturing or responding to that collection, I can't do this because of my collection, or I've got to move because of my collection, or I'm tripping over stuff because then you got, then that's when you got a problem. And interesting.
As Ron says, it's a form. It can get to a form of hoarding.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing to cultivate stuff, interact with it, and enjoy it. But if you're grabbing it and you're putting someplace and it's just taking up space, that's hoarding. Yeah, absolutely hoarding and out of hand. I have a friend who collects baseball bats from the little baseball bats from the stadiums, and
nice.
It's a nice thing for like you. He wanted a memento from the experience he had at the stadium. So always fun. They're not expensive and they're neat. They have the artwork of the logo of the teams, and over the years, there's new teams, old teams. It's a great thing, but it's extensive. But finally, he got his favorite ones and put them in a frame of some sorts. And so it's not something in a box that's just like, what the hell is that? You can enjoy that. But it's interesting. I'm gonna tease him a little bit lovingly. He doesn't have patience for other collections or other things. And he said things like, yeah, I don't believe in jewelry, And so I'll say, yes, but you have an unabiding faith in little tiny baseball bats that you have. But they're nice and they mean something to him, and that's really all you need. If it means something to you and it's not interfering with your life, and you haven't spent the mortgage on getting some stuff, and you're not tripping over it, it's not a fire hazard. For people who collected Hummels, if you remember those little figurines,
yes,
I remember people of a certain generation, they collected them and said, oh, they're valuable, they're going to be worth something someday. And even as a kid, I was like, oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. And that you can't give them away. And all I can say is, if they brought you happiness, looking at these little figurines of life in Germany or wherever, and these different peoples, then they were worth every penny you paid for it. But if you bought them thinking this was going to be your retirement, you absolutely should have been buying shares in an S&P 500 in a tax-deferred mutual fund. Okay, and that
the more you know.
Yeah. But not the Hummels. And the same with, I don't know where the baseball card market is, but there's like 4 or 5 years in the 1970s where I lived and died on baseball cards. And I wish I still had them. My mom made me give them away on one of our, we didn't have the space for them. I wish I had them. But I don't know what baseball cards are really worth anymore. For me, it was just,
believe me, it's a big business. It's huge.
It is. It's still a going concern. That's good. For me, the value in that was, what it meant to me at that time in my life, looking at those players whom I looked up to, and memories of games that I saw, and that's great. That's great. I had a Thurman Munson rookie card.
Ooh,
Yes, that was given away, but that went with my collection. Mom said, "Time to give away your baseball cards." And
Not to, and believe me, I'm not. But my father used to tell me the stories all the time. It's the same thing
yeah,
of how his mother, my grandmother, threw away all his stuff, and he had my father. I'm the youngest,
okay.
and my father got married a little late in life, so he had like Gehrig, and
Oh boy,
he had those, which
those guys. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, to your his mother it was what get these things out of here.
Out of the
I don't
house.
need
Yeah,
them
yeah. We
anymore.
don't have space anymore. Right. Bye-bye.
Uh,
Too
well,
funny.
as usual, when I work with Martin, I love it because I learn so much. And I've already written notes down of like, oh, I gotta look that up now. I gotta see this.
Uh,
And I hope you enjoyed it as well. And we're gonna have tomorrow who's on. Kenny and Ron are gonna be on tomorrow.
great, great.
And thank you for watching. Make it
Yes,
a great day. Hugo, thank you very much. He's like our #1 fan out there.
absolutely. Thank you, Hugo.
And remember, when you need some fun, join us because we have it going on daily.
We do.
Bye, folks.
Bye.